despite the fact that Sergio Perez recently secured second place in the Drivers' Championship, the highest place of his 13 seasons in F1 so far. Many fans would name him as one of the most disappointing drivers of the year. Perez wrapping up second means that Red Bull will get 1-2 in the drivers' standings for the first time in their history, with Max Verstappen having been crowned world champion following the Qatar sprint. In the 4 years in which Sebastian Vettel won the world championship with the team, his teammate Mark Webber finished third 3 times and sixth once. In the previous 2 years, in which Verstappen was crowned world champion both times, Perez finished fourth and then third. Whilst that may make it look like Perez has had a year to be proud of, doing all that he can do except for winning the Drivers' Championship, that is far from the truth. This is down to the dominance of Red Bull, who have won all but one of the 21 races so far. Of these 20 Grand Prix victories, Perez has only won 2, with both of his wins coming within the first 4 rounds. In the past 16 races, he's only finished on the podium 5 times, compared to Verstappen, who has 15 podiums in that time, winning all the races in which he placed in the top 3. In the standings, the gap between Max and Checo is currently 276 points, which many fans feel is too big for the Mexican to retain his seat for next year, as Red Bull are normally ruthless with their decision-making. However, in recent rounds, it looks like Perez is finally finding his form again, which could see him end the season on a high. But how has Checo managed to change the minds of fans? Keep watching to find out. Many felt that Perez would have a return to form at the 19th round of the year, his home race in Mexico City, where hundreds of thousands of fans turned out to support him. Heading into this race, he was locked into a battle for second place with Lewis Hamilton holding a 39-point lead over the Brit. In the Mexican qualifying season, Perez finished in 5th, a place ahead of Hamilton, but embarrassingly a place behind Daniel Ricciardo, who drives for Red Bull's sister team AlphaTauri and is seen by many as the main contender to take Checo's seat in the future. However, he still had a great opportunity in the race, as Perez had the fastest car, like he has at almost every round this year. He made a great initial start to the race, heading into turn 1 level with Verstappen and Charles Leclerc, but he then made contact with Leclerc, ending his own race on lap 1. Perez was devastated and called the incident the saddest moment of his career. Following the incident, senior members of Red Bull stood by Checo, stating that he was right to be bold when having the opportunity to take the lead of his home race. Throughout the year, the Red Bull management have also maintained that Perez will remain with the team for next season, as he has a contract until the end of 2024. Despite this contract, he still had to prove that he deserved his seat, and he has managed to do that following Mexico. In Brazil, he qualified 3rd in the sprint shootout and finished in the same position in the sprint race. He showed his battling qualities to finish in the top 3 after he fell behind both Mercedes on the opening lap. He was disappointed with his sprint start, but he said the comeback had given him momentum going into the Grand Prix, where he started in 9th after a yellow flag forced him to abort his qualifying lap. In the race, he made some great moves to eventually be in a tense battle with Fernando Alonso for the last step of the podium. Perez managed to overtake Alonso for 3rd in the penultimate lap, but the Spaniard then passed him again on the final lap with a spectacular move. The drivers then had a drag race to the line, with Alonso securing 3rd place by just 0.053 seconds. Perez said that it hurt to miss out on the podium that day, but that it had been a great battle with a very fair driver in Alonso. Hamilton finished 8th on that day, meaning that Checo headed into Vegas with a 32-point lead over the 7-time world champion. In Vegas, Perez failed to make it through to Q3 for the 9th time this year, going out in Q2 along with Hamilton. Sergio's early elimination came due to an issue with Red Bull's strategy, which saw Checo come into the pits too early, having set a lap good enough for 6th early in the session, which eventually fell to 12th fastest by the end of the second part of qualifying. It was former Red Bull drivers Alex Albon and Pierre Gasly who knocked him out of the session and pushed him back to 12th. Perez then got a bad start to the Grand Prix, falling to the rear end of the field after making contact with Valtteri Bottas, who was attempting to evade the spinning Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso. Perez pit for hards and began to work his way back up the field after this, eventually taking the lead after others pit. A well-timed safety car for Checo then allowed him to come out in 2nd after pitting again. For the closing stages of the race, he was involved in a battle with Verstappen and Leclerc to determine the podium order. Verstappen eventually pulled away in the lead, whilst Leclerc and Perez battled for second. Perez overtook Leclerc on lap 43, but then, for the second race in a row, he lost a position on the final lap, being overtaken due to a great move by the Ferrari driver. Whilst Perez was disappointed to lose another position late on in the race, he was pleased with the comeback and happy to be fighting at the front again, which was greatly needed after his mid-season crisis. It now looks inevitable that Perez will hold the seat for next season, but let us know if you think he deserves it in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on notifications.